The origins of oil painting. Prior to the 15th century, artists commonly used water-based paints or employed egg yolks as a binding agent in a style known as egg tempera. Since then, however, oil paints have gained widespread use and popularity. Oil paints are a mixture of a pigment with an oil base, typically linseed oil, and a thinner. The oil is a binding agent, which holds the pigment to the surface upon which the paint is applied and serves as a drying agent that allows the paint to oxidize, turn into a gel, and then harden. Compared to water-soluble paints, which dry in 1 to 3 days, and egg tempera, which dries faster, most oil paints dry much more slowly, usually 2 to 3 weeks after being applied. This feature lets artists work with the paint for longer periods of time, thereby permitting more layering as well as more details and richer tones than water paints. It is unknown when oil paints were first used, but recent discoveries in Afghanistan indicate mural artists there utilized oil paints as early as the 7th century. However, as yet, there is little evidence that knowledge of oil paints spread from there to other lands. There are some instances of oil being employed as a drying medium in artwork created in the Byzantine Empire, but art historians are not sure whether the technique originated there or came from Afghanistan. A Benedictine monk named Theophilus claimed to have mixed pigments with oils to make paints in a treatise written in the 12th century, which indicates that the Byzantines may have discovered the process by themselves. Extensive use of oil paints in Europe was uncommon until the early 15th century, when European artists, who primarily used egg tempera as their binding agent, started seeking something that would give them more flexibility when painting and would permit them to paint in more detail, and with more vibrant colors. Artists during that time experimented with different oils, including linseed oil, as binding agents. Most art historians agree that Dutch artist Jan van Eyck was the first individual to develop a way properly to prepare linseed oil and pigments so that they produced fine oil paints. They are uncertain precisely when and how he did so though since, although his career as an artist spanned many years, large numbers of his early works have been lost. His earliest surviving paintings, from the 1430s, were done with oil paints. The new style of painting quickly spread, and most Dutch artists were soon experimenting with oil paints. Simultaneously, experiments with mineral and biological agents produced more vibrant colors, therefore improving the quality of the new oil paints. Oil paints swiftly spread around Europe. They were especially popular in Italy, and that had a major influence on artwork produced during the Renaissance. Oil replaced egg tempera as the preferred binding agent for pigments since it had several advantages. For example, works done with egg tempera had to utilize a gesso that the paint could adhere to. Then, the paint had to be applied in thin layers that dried quickly and could not easily be changed. On the other hand, oil paints dried more slowly, permitting changes to be made. They could also be applied with more delicate brushstrokes to permit more detail. Oil paints were much livelier than those done with egg tempera as well. All those advantages resulted in oil paints becoming the dominant painting medium once they were perfected. Binding agent, an ingredient that lets a mixture hold its shape or stay together. Gesso, a prepared surface such as plaster that artists paint on.